Hi there, welcome to the Tech Lab. Today I'm joined by Felipe Furlan de Silva. He is the CTO at Jimdo. We're going to discuss his journey, his early life, his career in Brazil, some of his motivations to move to Germany, the sort of cultural differences, the different nuances that he's found, and some of his recent successes as well. At Source Talks, our mission is really simple. It's to deliver value to you guys, where you can hear from tech leaders. Hi there, welcome to the Tech Lab. Today I'm joined by discuss key challenges, key industry trends, CTO at Jimdo, guys, actionable journey into tech, you can apply to early life and career in Brazil. Yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. I'm really excited for this and some of his recent successes at Jimdo. Felipe, how are we doing? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm doing great. Thanks a lot for the invitation and looking forward for our conversation.
Absolutely, me too. So yeah, just wanted to jump into it with my favorite question in terms of, can you tell us a little bit about your journey into the tech industry, where software first captured your heart and where we got to today?
Yeah, I work with technology since I know as a person. My father was a technologist as well. He used to work with mainframes and old programming languages, and we always had exposure to computers. I started my career as a backend engineer at IBM, and very early I realized that I would like to be a manager. So I always wanted to mix the technologist part with managing people and bringing teams together and work in collaboration. I create my career in this path. I always wanted to change things, so I couldn't stay long in the same corporation. I started working as a consultant. I tried using with Microsoft and doing a lot of different projects across Brazil, understanding how other companies work and understanding how other companies behave, getting information from them and learning from a lot of different companies, different areas, different sectors, which was great. In 2016, I built my first startup, and then it became part of a bigger group, which is called MZ, where I'm partner to this day. It was focused on investor relations, a very segmented sector, and we brought technology to them. So it was really, really interesting. It was a 360 swap in my career. After this journey, I decided to try out something outside Brazil, so coming to another country. I got an invitation from a German investor group to join a company called Happy Car. I moved to Hamburg through Hamburg, Germany for this role. After 1 year, I realized I wanted to get something that I was more passionate with and find something more connected to my purpose. It was when I met Jimdo, and I fell in love for our mission to help small business, to help solopreneurs, to help migrants. It was great. It fit with my mindset. And since 3 years and a half, I'm working and collaborating with Jimdo.
Nice, an amazing journey there. You said that you realized quite early that you wanted to be a manager over a back-end engineer, right? What was the sort of main caveats to that?
I'm a people person, so I love to talk, I love to discuss things, I love to be in the middle of teams. I like to make sure we execute and deliver stuff. I'm very pleased to do it, to be part of a bigger group of people. And most of my colleagues, they would prefer to put these headsets and just don't talk to me, let me do my work. Me, on the other hand, I was always volunteering to go talk to managers, to be part of meetings. I felt much more excited when I was thrown into chaos and to organize chaos. And I realized it's a good idea to be a manager and to make things happen in the other way. And also, I was always very transparent and never scared of being transparent. And this, I believe, it's one of the best skills of a manager, to know how to tell the truth, to know how to be transparent, how to get your team around you. So since that time, it was clear that more than really build things, my position was managing and making sure the team could succeed.
I like that you mentioned you like chaos, which is an interesting opinion. I definitely agree, but I think most people, when they think of chaos, they think, oh, everything's on fire, we've got to put it out. In terms of MZ, the startup, so you're like an investor now, like, or like a board member? Like, how are you still connected to them?
I'm a board member, and I still work with the innovation part. Uh, and I mean, I dedicate some part of my day to work with them. So the time zone allows it. So they are currently working with me in these times.
Nice one. And in terms of Jimdo, you obviously mentioned that you fell in love with it when you came to Germany. Could you tell me about what made you want to join and those different elements?
And I'm Brazilian, so in Brazil, like there's the unemployment rate is unfortunately a bit high, and there's a lot of like there are jobs, but people are not qualified. So we have a normal educational issue in Brazil. And since my early ages, I saw like that small businesses and the mother who cooks, who bakes cake and sells, and the school or the person who builds hats and can really perform some kind of extra revenue to the family. This is super significant in Brazil. It's super important. It's an extra income. And I saw this in Germany as well. Like there's a lot of people who are solopreneurs who are trying to get an extra income, who are trying to build their brand, trying to use their skills as the first source of income for families. And Jimdo wants to help them. So Jimdo wants to build solutions that will bring them customers, that will make their life easier, will enable them to have a better financial control, will enable them to have more control over their life, understand their customer, bring technology to empower them. And that's a mission that I really love to work with, because you see um, a lot of times you're going to see, or if you go to B2B, for example, you see you are bringing a revenue from 1 billion to 10 billion. That's amazing. Companies are happy, investors are happy. But when you talk about solopreneurs, if you change from 1,000 to 2,000, you really make a difference in the life of a person. And seeing these work groups, seeing the happiness we bring to our customers was amazing. So finding this purpose to use technology to empower people was what made me super excited to join. And it's why I'm to this day super excited to stay and to build nice tooling.
Amazing. That's a really cool vision, and I like the solopreneurs. I never heard that term before, but yeah, I like
Yeah.
it. What are some of the biggest challenges you're facing right now? Because you obviously do support small businesses through website building and different paths like this. What are some of the biggest challenges that you've got right now over there?
I would say it's mainly the situation that the company is right now, because Jimdo is a company, is a stable company who is around for more than 20 years. So we do have a working software, we do have a working revenue stream that enables us to exist as a company, and we are still trying to find our way to the business builder market. So it's
Yeah.
a swap in our current business model, having to maintain what was old. So this space and this distribution of team effort, the distribution of resources that we have within the organization, the focus, building solutions that are going to make us fast, still being compliant, changing things for a pace that we're going to be able to experiment a lot, still ensuring that we have the necessary quality in the services. This is very challenging. So ensure that teams can perform in both worlds. It's absolutely amazing. We are making a lot of progress, but it's also very challenging.
Hmm. Okay. And in terms of some of the values that you've learned, not just from Jimdo in the last 4 years, but even at MZ and some like other companies like Happy Car and F2S, what are some of the values that you sort of take into your everyday life, and what also the values that you trying to teach your leadership group and your engineers?
It sounds buzzword, but it's really like it's honesty, humbleness, and transparency. Without this, it's really impossible to be a leader. People they deserve to know why they are doing what they are doing. They have to know, and it's much easier when you are transparent with the situation. We sometimes think that the role of a leader is to always protect the team no matter what. And of course, you need to protect, but you also need to be honest. And this is something I brought to my life. It's something that makes people, I believe, have a nice relationship with me, because they know that I'm not bullshitting them. They know that I'm not exaggerating when I say something, and it allows me to have deep and honest conversations. So be honest all the time and be humble all the time, because the other one that I bring is people relate to you usually because of the share that you sit, not because of you. So if you change your role, if you change your job, they're not gonna smile the same way, they're not gonna laugh the same way. But if you are humble and honest, they will. So the only way for you as a leader to transcend the role that you have in the business is being honest and transparent. People will keep it by your side no matter what happens. But if you play with them, if you are lying, if you are doing things that it's not on the best interest from everybody, it's going to be very hard. So this is something I really take with me, and I plan to take with me forever.
Okay, that's a really prominent point, and sort of that honesty and transparency, that they see you not for just the leader that you are, and like you say, the seat that you're sitting in, you see more for the actual person behind that. And yeah, that's really interesting. And in terms of the makeup of Jimdo, what's the sort of cultural sort of makeup there? Because I wanted to get into some of the differences where you come from, obviously working in a Latin company in Brazil, and then sort of going into like a German work environment. What are some of the differences that you've seen, and what's the makeup of that?
No, it's absolutely different. It was very good for me to move to another country, to a European country, because as I built my career, as you said, in a Latin American organization, working with Brazilians most of the time, that for me was the way to do. So I never understood that there was different culture. I worked for IBM, but I was a Brazilian office from IBM. Although I had some relationships with foreigners, with Americans or Singaporean Europeans, it was only one conference call or another. Back then, there was not even a video call; it was on the phone. And then I came to Germany. I realized, like, hey, there's very different ways of doing the same things. Jimdo is the same, so we have like a lot of different nationalities. And there's a book that I usually recommend people to read, which is the Cultural Map. It's an amazing book to see these cultural differences. The more important ones that I usually try to discuss and clarify is context. There are people who are application first. There are people who are context first. So for some of them, you learn as you do. Brazilians are like that. If you ask me to do a podcast, we're going to do a version, 2 versions, 3 versions. I'm going to learn as I go. If you ask a German, for example, normally they would want to read the script before they want to go through the whole thing. They want to discuss with you why they're doing what they're doing. They're going to go to the essence, and then they're going to build. And understanding how to really navigate through these groups and to make sure everybody gets the right amount of information that is needed, this is a big challenge. The other one, it's also on the availability. Brazilians are usually not on time. So if you are late, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes for a meeting, it's absolutely okay, because there's this understanding that you might be late from the other meeting and nobody would be angry with you. In Germany, people, for example, are very anxious. If you have a meeting at 8, they're going to be there at 8. So also learning how to feedback, how to behave, where to come. All of this I got to learn as I worked here. The last one that I would say is feedback. There are cultures that you can't be super direct. So if you're gonna do a feedback, you need to be very kind. You need to put like the good points before and then say the bad things. And some other cultures are very direct. So in Germany, again, Europeans in general, they are much more, the feedback flows both ways. In Germany, it was the first time that as a boss, I got a very strong feedback from my team member, and I was, whoa, that's not how it was in Brazil. You know, like I would ask you to do something, you would do something, even if like if I was wrong, you would tell me very politely. But here was like, no, you're doing bullshit. I'm not gonna do what you're asking me to do. So being exposed to this changed me in a way that I can see the best from both, and I can apply this. If we start this exchange, and again, we need to be very transparent. You need to do some dynamics with your team to explain why people think like they think. It's going to be amazing. Like people will really see, whoa, this is what I was thinking, that you were just a lazy person. It's because of your background, because the way you went to school. And when they understand and they can interact and exchange, something magical happens and teams get super, super, super performatic.
That's funny. I mean, in terms of like the availability and the timing and sort of learning as you do, I think I definitely might be more Brazilian than I am German for sure. It was interesting. How did you sort of react to that when the I guess like the engineer or manager that was sort of started giving you feedback? Were you able to sort of learn on your feet, or was it quite a hard transition?
No, I mean, I just spoke with some people, like because I was very apprehensive, and I asked like to some peers of mine, is this normal? Am I doing something wrong? Like, is this okay? And even publicly, like sometimes you are writing something in a public Slack channel and the person just, I do not agree with that. I don't think you should do it. And luckily enough, I got access. I was exposed to this book, The Cultural Map, earlier when I joined Gym, when we did an workshop on that. So it was not hard to do the transition, but to this day, sometimes you get stress because it's part of who you are. So when I read a message, for example, somebody being very direct and disagreeing with something I wrote, it's very painful.
Mm.
That internal desire to say, hey, just please, just do it. I'm the leader, I'm deciding, just do it. But the good part is when you move away from this and you start being open to feedback, you learn a lot. And everybody gets more motivated because they are able to provide you feedback. So finding the balance, it's key. But the transition was not so hard. Like I had some very good support from people.
Yeah, I can imagine it was so different though, being literally like IBM Brazil and being your own like core work unit, and then maybe working with like IBM China or IBM Portugal. Like it's so segmented, right? So you only know the Brazilian like cultural aspect of work, and I guess maybe you might did you ever sort of communicate across teams when you were at IBM, or what was that sort of like?
There was some communications, but was more is topic specifics. So we were working for a meeting, for example, and we have a project. So on Saturday, we had some conversations or some trainings. I also traveled abroad sometimes, and then we did like this week training, but it was never so clear like here. I had one case in America which was funny. Like Brazilians, we are very open. So if you go to Brazil and you are, I don't know, meeting somebody in the streets, we're going to be your best friend immediately, and they're going to invite you to go to their
Hmm.
houses, and you're going to do some friendship. I was like for 2 weeks in America and doing a training, and it was Thanksgiving. And I told one of the guys like who was actually doing the training, hey, my dream was to be part of a Thanksgiving dinner in the family.
Hmm.
And he turned to me and said, yeah, this is going to be impossible. Nobody will invite you because it's family time. Bye. And for me as a Brazilian, I was like, wow, that's very impolite, just invite me to go. But it's not like this. It's truly like we had a case in Germany also that we were trying to change, we call colleagues. We were trying to change the term colleagues to working friends. It
Hmm.
was heavy because people were saying, I'm not your friend. Nothing against you, but we are not friends. We work colleagues. That's it. Don't use the word friends when it doesn't represent a friendship. You're never going to go to my house. I don't want to be with you outside of work. This is something that for a Brazilian is very different. If we
Hmm.
work together, we are friends. We're going to do things together.
Yeah.
We're going to be in a more open conversation and relationship. You're probably going to go out with my family. You're going to dinner with me at some point. And here it's very different. So this is very shocking.
Yeah, I mean I guess the way it all depends, right? How you actually see the workplace, right? Because I think in England it's quite similar to Germany probably about like yeah we are just working together.
Yeah.
But I guess that's why you want to join a company based on like the culture. That's what everyone says, right? They want to join somewhere where they can be friends, and I guess it is about that work-life balance, right? And some people say that there is no work-life balance. It is literally just work is part of your life, and if work is part of your life, then people become your friends, right? So yeah, it's a really interesting perspective. How, you mentioned, and I think it's pretty obvious on LinkedIn as well, you read a hell of a lot of books, Felipe. How have some of these influenced your sort of leadership approach? We'll get to your sort of top three books maybe later on, but I just wanted, interested in terms of like the leadership approach and interest, influencing that and working in a different environment. Yeah, how has that been affected?
I believe like books, they are a magical source of knowledge uh, and timeless. Like I really love to read to learn because most of the things we are trying to implement right now, they were done before in one way or another. So cultural changes, adaptations, uh, some processes that you are improving, this happened before. And if you correlate with your challenge, you can learn a lot. And that's what I try to do. So for reading, for me, it's like a therapy. I try to read every day, 2 hours at least. I read when I wake up. I read before I go to bed. I avoid like a lot of television to really focus on my reading because I think it's super important. When I'm flying or when I'm traveling, always with a book. And what I try to see is really these business books focused on transformations. So I love to see how other leaders did. I like biography to see like how people are thinking or how they are processing. And there's always something good, no matter who you are reading about. Something you can correlate and something you can do. It can be one strategy, can be one dynamic, can be one transformation, one way of thinking. You don't need to follow blindly, but the more you get, it's like you have done by yourself. So I believe in this. When I'm reading, when I'm learning, I can apply the same strategy, just changing the way, but I can do it in my work. And it works super nice. Super nice.
I imagine it's a good way to escape the daily chaos of work as well, right?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense you can focus a bit more. No, because it's crazy. The more you read, like I can't read 3 pages without having a lot of ideas on how to apply to the next day. So reading for me is a very good exercise in the sense of oh my God, I can do different. This I should try out. This kind of messaging I should use. We need to find something that relates to this thing. So it's very good. And me and my peers, like there's actives at Jimdo, we also exchange a lot ideas. It's also good. I'm not the only one reading a lot. My CEO, our COO, CFO, we always exchange book recommendations. There's always a book in read in our list, and we discuss a lot. So it's pretty interesting. It's a very good group exercise to be done.
Yeah, and how do you read all your books? I got like a little tablet here, but I've recently been given a couple of books like for my birthday and like actual hard copy books, and I've been like reading them on the train, and it's been a lot more substantial. I've actually read a lot more. How do you do your reading?
I'm always hardcover. I'm an old schooler. I like to open the book, feel the smell, and then just start reading. So it's really an old habit that I have. Um, I can't go for tablet. Like it's very hard for me to focus. Although I'm a technologist, like for really reading, I need to
Mm.
feel and to touch the paper. It's old school. Like the 90s, we never had like these tablets or Kindles or anything. So every time you see me, I will be holding at least one or two books and going for the next one.
Mm. And it's interesting what you say as well about sort of like the more you read, the more ideas you get, and like how like basically history is repeating itself, and there's so like different nuggets of information. And interestingly enough, how what's like some good biographies that you've read out of interest recently?
I really enjoyed a book called Who Says Elephants Can't Dance. It's like a story from Lou Gardner from IBM. So how he did the turnaround when he got the CEO title. It was great. A very controversial one. I loved the Elon Musk biography, not because of what he did, but like I feel there's so much things in there that you can relate and how to do. And if you know how to apply it, it will be great. Like if you know how to exchange the good things he did and apply it properly with respect, with care, caring about people, it's priceless. And becoming Steve Jobs, I also think it's a very good one.
Okay.
Uh, it's true of the biographies that you can. I mean, they're very big books, but you can read in a sitting.
Mm. Okay, I'll definitely give the Steve Jobs. What was the IBM one called? Sorry.
Who said elephants can dance?
That's a great title.
It's a great title. Yeah,
Okay.
it's amazing. This one is my favorite book. Yeah, it's my favorite book.
Okay, and talk about that sort of learning and personal growth as well, and those sort of meditative sort of experiences that you have, reading and coming up with new ideas. How do you sort of transfer that knowledge to managers? Like, how do you make sure that people can grow to become good managers? What sort of elements are you looking for there, and what sort of values are you trying to foster? What sort of principles from these books are you trying to teach them?
I usually try to do by example. So I try to explain like how I'm doing and if it's working or not. So getting the feedback and trying to understand how to improve. I usually am very I like to say like intrusive in a way. So I always send book recommendations, I screenshots or take a picture from what I'm reading to my managers. And I, of course, like, hey, if you are not willing to get these messages, let me know. But I try to be very talking to them about the topics.
Yeah.
And what I like to do is in a one-on-one that I hold with them to always ask, like, how are you feeling? What are you learning? What can we do different? So let's try out this thing. And I try as much as I can to get. So building this environment where you actually feel comfortable for sharing and you respond, I think it's super important. And again, I don't want anybody working on weekends or nights or anything, but when I got a message from one of my managers, like at Friday, 10 p.m., hey, I thought about
Yeah.
applying this new technique. I just enjoy it because I know that he's not doing that for the company, he's doing that for himself, growing. So the company will benefit as well. So it's a very win-win situation. And somehow I was able to influence people to get this learning, which is our most important asset, I would say.
Mm. And that's what you were saying in terms of like becoming a people person, having that sort of transparency. And I guess one of the values that you said was trust, right? Which I wanted to focus on. Like this trust, I guess, is transcending because they're messaging you out of core hours. They're responding that they quite literally are like your work friends rather than colleagues, like we were mentioning. Um, how important is trust to you in the kind of context of leadership?
It's the most important thing. Like you need to have trust. You need to provide trust. I think like you can't expect people to trust you if you do not trust them. So it's very important for you to show it in a way. You need to be always open and honest when you screw up or when you did something wrong. It's absolutely okay to be vulnerable. That's not a weakness sign at all. Some people, they fear to go and say, hey, I did this wrong. I tried to attempt this thing and didn't work out. So people will respect that on you. Uh, and always in the sense of transparency, like the transcending pieces, sometimes that person who was performing a lot is not performing anymore, for example, and it's time for them to go to the next opportunity or to find out something different. If you are open with them and you help them to relocate or you help them to find something different, that's also a part of a leader because you need to care about the person. You know, of course, the company will benefit and your responsibility is to deliver results.
Yeah.
But if you truly cares about how the person is feeling, how we can make things better, you are going to get again, win-win situation, because the person will move to something better, the company will get in a better place of something different, and they're going to be able to get things better. So truly trusting, showing respect, being able to listen, remember what people told you, being organized. If you commit to something with them, deliver. You as a leader, um, don't send things without context. Provide as much as context as you can. This is super important to get to be recognized as a nice and decent leader, I would say.
Yeah, and there must be I mean, that's probably the best example of being a good leader, right, is literally being in the most uncomfortable situation where someone is leaving your leaving your company, and then you're helping them find their next role. That's very like super selfless, right?
Yeah, yeah, and you need to do it. I mean, it's the hardest thing to get done. It's really like to. There are two things that are very hard. I would say one, to people leave the company. The second one, when you want to hire someone and then the role is closed, or you need to choose between two very talented people. But it's part of being a leader. But again, being honest, I feel it's what is the most important thing. If you can be honest, if you can point vulnerabilities, if you can point weaknesses from people, some people might be angry, some people might be stressed, but you are doing the right thing. When you give context, this is not happening because of that. You need to move forward because of this. You worked nicely here before, now it's not working anymore. The company was behaving A, now it behaves B, and I don't think it's the right thing for you. The promotion that you were looking forward is not going to happen because we have a problem with budgeting. So all of these explanations people deserve, and it's hard. It's really hard to go in front of people and say that something's not gonna work. We are human beings. We usually try to praise people. We respond very well when people are happy. I mean, if you come to a meeting smiling with me, I'm gonna be happy. If you come crying or angry or pissed, I'm also gonna feel the same. That's our behavioral situation. So it's hard, but it's part of being a leader. If you're constant, if you're concise, and you're always being honest, people will really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely, and that goes back to what you're saying about just the vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
Why do you talking about on this opinion of managing managers and helping people grow? I believe Jimdo has like a growth framework that management implements. Could you tell me a little bit about that, and why do you think it's so important to enable that growth?
Yeah, we do. We do have a very interesting growth framework that we analyze like each of the skills that people need to develop in order to grow in to their next step. And what is important, and it's also super hard to get it done, is we need to understand, so like what is required for people to move from A to B, and the company goals need to be also attached to this personal growth. So if I need someone to be more communicative, for example, and for 2 years the company will be focused in solving things that doesn't require cross collaboration, it's unfair to the person. So the growth framework goes through like, what do you need to do from go to A to B? What our team members need to go from go to A to B? Which kind of decisions you can make, which kind of projects you can create so people can execute this, and constant feedback. We need to get constant feedback. If people are not performing, tell them. If people did something wrong, explain why and fix it immediately. Don't wait 1 year to provide the feedback, because then it's just unfair. People think they are doing right, and when it comes a time you had a lot of problems, so tell people. And if people are doing good, also tell people. Do instant feedback. So growth framework is the baseline for the whole organization to know that they are able to get from A to B, I would say, and it's super important.
And do people respond differently to the growth framework? Have you noticed, like, is there certain people that respond in a different way, maybe when they're aligning with the company goals and their personal goals? Has that ever been an issue?
Yeah, I mean, depends. It's tough to implement because it's a big corporation, so you really need to rely on the managers, and some managers do it differently than others. And then there's always the expectation, if I achieve what I needed to achieve, I'm ready to get for the next layer, so I need to get a promotion or something. And sometimes it's not like this, so sometimes you need more stuff to get promoted. It's just that you are showing the results, but it might take longer.
Yeah.
What I feel is people are sometimes scared of being micromanaged, which is not the case. So you need to be very careful also to not sound like a micromanager. It's really like, these are the tasks, these are the tools. That's how you're going to get there. And the other problem we usually face is people think it's a more judgment rather than facts. So I'm not growing because my manager doesn't like me, rather than I'm not growing because I fail in this task. So being able to really give decent examples and say what should have done differently, in which sense you could have done better, which kind of metrics you should try out. This is important. If you say like this is not a good job, you need to do better next time, it's not bad. This is
Yeah.
not a good job, the way you should have done is like this. Let's experiment with me. Let me show you how I would have this done. Let's improve the communication, and then people start growing.
Yeah, I think it's important also for people to be like transparent with just not everyone else, but with themselves as well, right? When they can
Yep.
blame their manager for something or blame the company for something, when they actually have to really take a like a hard look at themselves, and that's what I guess the constant feedback is, right? And
Yep.
do you what would you call your approach then if it's not like micromanaging? Obviously, no one wants to be a micromanager. This is quite an old way of doing things, both in recruitment as well as engineering or whatever industry it might be. What sort of framework do you like to implement, and do you like track OKRs and things like this? Like how does that go with the metrics?
We are starting to implement OKRs right now. It's very hard. Like to be very honest, it works, of course, but also when you are trying to find market fit, you need to be fast, and it's very hard to give people predictability on how we are going to work in 3 months, or even to get some quarterly goals that can change, because as a small company, you need to adapt fast. So finding out this space, it's very challenging, it's very tough. But that's the way we are trying to get now. So I give like a mission. That's what we need to do. That's the vision for the technology organization. We are here. I want to be here. And then teams are going to define how we're going to move. So the way the baseline you give is the overall goal. And every team goal, they need to see how it connects to the overall goal for the company. But again, it's very challenging. We do have one of our heads of engineering, which he's an OKR expert. He's helping us to build this baseline, but it's very tough. It's really tough to do it. I need to be very transparent.
Yeah. And another thing that is quite challenging as well as OKRs is implementing like remote first policy. I know that this is something that it seems like Jimdo has done very well, and you've really driven that. When did you guys become remote first, and how do you sort of ensure that you keep being effective on this sort of like one-on-one coaching and mentorship when you're working in that kind of context?
We became through COVID. So when COVID struck, like people were forced to go back home. It's a challenging. Like it was challenging. It's still challenging to make sure that we keep productive. What I feel is it worked very well when we went home, and the teams were very stable by then. And it's usually it's a bit also controversial what I would say, but like it's usually management responsibility to give teams a decent strategy and a decent mindset to fight for something for the company. If they're just doing tasks, they're not going to perform. People doesn't perform when they are just doing tasks. But if there's a problem they are solving, it doesn't matter if they're in the office, if they're home, if they're at the beach, they would focus to get this done. When you are working to solve a problem, it's much nicer. It's like when you're playing a video game and then you need to go for the next stage, and you stay playing for like 12, 13, 17 hours until you get this done. It's the same. If I give you a task, you will do the task and you're going to leave. If I give you a challenge and you understand why this challenge is important to be solved, you're going to work nicely. This is something we're trying to solve as well, like how we provide these challenges, how we provide this vision, how we make sure teams are operating. And the other one is like we have a remote playbook that was built. So it's very clear how we can work. So which kind of meetings you need to attend, how your calendar will work out, what is your responsibilities if you need to turn on the camera or not, recording policies, people working here and there. So we care a lot about our operation rhythm inside the company.
Yeah. And I think what you're saying there as well is just giving someone just a task isn't effective, but giving them an actual purpose. Yeah. And that's how they then attach themselves to the company's goals, and then their own goals become the company's goals. Yeah, that's super important. With the remote playbook, is that something a lot of engineering organizations do, or is this quite simple? Like, have you seen that in other places, or how long is the book as well? Is it quite a big rule book, or?
To be fair, I never seen like in any other place in this way that we have done. And it was done by everybody. So it was a bunch of people like from different departments who gave their time and gave their energy to build this playbook. So it's on everything: how you do travel expenses, how you connect your calendar, which kind of meetings you need to attend, which kind of messages you share on Slack, how you communicate from A to B. So they really put some effort in building this process, and now we keep it at like on our Confluence page, and we keep up to date.
Okay, nice. And in terms of just sort of going into the closing questions as well, talking about this maximizing people's productivity as leaders and managers and your staff, how do you prioritize and manage your own time as a tech leader? Do you have a morning routine? Do you have a night routine? Like what sort of things can you tell us that?
For me, it's a bit like it's complicated, especially the ad hoc meetings. Like these are the ones that I'm still trying to get better, because my calendar is open, so people just throw meetings inside. If I look on Sunday, my week is very it's busy, but not so busy. Starting on Monday, meetings start to appear, and then I need to keep going here and there. On a personal level, what I try to do is like I wake up very early every day. I have my morning routine with coffee. I try to read a little bit. I have my family time from usually 7 to 10. And then I work a bit more, 10 to 11 before I sleep, read a little bit. So I try to be very constant on this. I like to exercise. So usually when I go to the office, I go by foot. I come back by foot. I try to walk at least 30 to 50 minutes a day. If a specific day doesn't work out, then I do one of my meetings walking. So I try to keep this pace, because the more healthy you are, the best. And for a long time, trying to get back to the gym, to be honest, but it's not working out. So I still need to figure out how to do it.
Yeah. How that's a lot of walking.
Yeah.
Do you listen to like podcasts, or obviously you've got some calls occasionally, but what do you listen to music?
I try to get some podcasts.
Yeah. Okay. Is there some podcasts that you'd like to shout out that you listen to? Is there like is it tech podcast? Is it like a comedy? Is like what kind of stuff do you listen to?
It depends. It depends on the mood. I usually try to go for more comedy to really relax, to detach. But depends. So there are days that I'm watching something, and also usually Brazilian, so I can keep connected to the Portuguese language somehow.
Yeah.
Because I'm forgetting how to speak Portuguese, working fully in English. But usually I try to go for comedies from Brazil. Yeah.
Okay. How many languages do you speak? Is it Portuguese and German and English, or is there more?
Just Portuguese and English. German is very bad. Spanish, and I think I can speak, but people just laugh at me when I try. It's more Portuguese and English.
Yeah, it's a big nuance between, even though the countries are close by. Like it's like saying like, oh yeah, English is the same as Welsh. You know, it's completely different.
Yeah.
They sound kind of similar, I guess, from like an untrained tongue, but yeah, they're so hard. It's so I could, if I took 20 years, I probably couldn't learn it. You know, that's interesting. And in terms of you said that people like just chuck meetings in your diary and things. How do you? And obviously, it's a bit more structured than that. You know, they'll have agendas and things. But how do you sort of have your own focus time when, you know, in between meetings and getting stuff done? Do you ever struggle with that in terms of productivity?
I have a lot. So usually my focus time would be from 10 to 11 in the night, or very early morning when people are not working. And I now more and more I'm starting to be able to decline meetings. So this is also like when you can delegate stuff, and you can build more trust between you and your managers, and you can ask them to be responsible for something. You don't necessarily need to be there. So although there's a meeting I don't need to attend, I just do some focus work, and then I can get. I try to do at least 2 hours a day of focus time, but sometimes it's just not possible.
Mm. You read the book, right? It's called like Turn the Ship Around,
Yeah,
about yeah, that's all about sort of like delegation, isn't it? And people telling you their intentions only, and then you having the trust to for them to implement it themselves, and then that encourages,
yeah,
more leadership.
yeah. It's also like it's important to think that for delegating, it's not only that you trust your team member to execute, but you need to build with him or her the knowledge to get done. So they need to feel empowered. They need to feel that they have the trust, and they need to feel comfortable with the task that you delegate. Because it's very common for us to say, hey, go there and do this thing. And then people are just going to be scared because they don't have they haven't built this trust that they can do it. And that's why delegation is a bit more complicated than simply you need to just let go. No, of course you have to let go. This is the first step, but you need to be there because whenever the person screws up or whenever something goes wrong, you need to be there and say everything is okay. Let's learn from this experience. If you just throw somebody with the lions and they're gonna eat him or her, it's really
Mm.
tough. So
Yeah,
delegation also involves like you need to be there for a while until the person feel comfortable to get it done, and then they start being alone and representing you more and more and more. And this is some work that we never consider as work. It's the moment that you are attending meetings, you're not saying a word, but whenever something goes wrong, you are there. So this moment that you build this trust environment, it takes some time.
yeah, I understand. That's it's quite intense, really, if you think about it. Especially how big is Jimdo at the moment? How many sort of direct reports and things you have?
Jimdo, total people 250.
And
My
engineering?
area, my area 115, I think, 120. I need to double check the numbers. I have 6 direct reports now.
Okay. Would you say six is like a good magical number? I know that like some people go up to
No,
eight
no.
and
It's
too
just the
many.
moment that we are. It's just the moment that we are. So I oversee engineering, IT ops, security, and data. Uh, so the six comes from this group. One per department. Engineering, I have three.
Okay. And then another question I had was just on sort of like the next generation. Like, what do you see from the next generations of hires, and do you have any sort of advice for someone who's like a junior software engineer, just sort of starting out in the industry?
My advice, and it's funny because I got the same advice when I started, and I always said like it's bullshit. It's just doesn't work like this. So I'm gonna give the same advice that I didn't follow in my early career. Uh, be patient. So this is super important. Don't try to throw your step in front because everything that you have is an opportunity to learn. So really, like, don't expect that in 2, 3 years you're gonna be skyrocketing. Go with the time. Be patient. Things are gonna work out for you. And the one that I always followed: always stay in a place that you are learning. Learning needs to be the most important driver for your career. It's not money, it's not status, it's learning. Sometimes you are in a very good position, making a lot of money, not learning anything.
Yeah.
This position might close, the market might change, and then you go for like job interviews or building something without any knowledge of what is happening. So the only thing that really should keep you, of course, you don't need to starve, you don't need to be in a bad situation, you need to be able to pay your rent, to get your car, to do your stuff. But find places where you can learn. Because if you can, in any kind of career path that you are deciding to go, but especially juniors, you need to be able to learn. Use these chances, use these places as a lab, and grow your mindset, grow your career, grow your knowledge. Things are gonna happen. Don't rush for salary and status. Go for learning.
Yeah. And I guess this is why books are so important to you as well, because first of all, you're reading a book. It's a very patient task. It
Yes,
doesn't you can't
yes,
just finish it in 10 seconds. and then you're always learning as well when you're
Yes,
reading.
exactly.
Nice. And just a couple of other questions, like a bit more fun. In terms of your top 3 book recommendations.
The one that I like, I mean, elephants that I recommended before. There's a book which is called The Growth Mindset.
Okay.
This book is amazing. It's amazing. And it basically deals with the difference between fixed mindset and growth mindset. And for me, it was an open eye. Like whenever you face a situation, people with the fixed mindset, they're going to be super stressed. People with the growth mindset, they would say, how can I learn to get better? And it's interesting because like I never realized how much I grew up in the fixed mindset, and how much my travels and my reading and my interaction with people moved me to the growth one. You can see the fixed mindset, for example, when you uh, something goes wrong with your life and you just say like, yeah, it's going wrong because I deserve it and there's nothing I can do to fix it. And people from growth mindset like, oh, something happened, how we can make it better. So I would really recommend this one. And one that I mean, it's one of my favorite books I read. Sometimes, unfortunately, it's only in Portuguese. He's currently the head of head of business growth from WhatsApp, Meta. It's called Guilherme Horn, and he has an innovation mindset book. It's brilliant. So how you can really use your mindset to build innovation solutions. How everyone can be creative in their work environment, from the top, from the CEO to the bottom, to the people, like the operational people. How you can use this mindset to increase your company. It's amazing. It's amazing. Unfortunately, just in Portuguese, but this one every year I read like at least one time again.
Nice. I'm definitely going to check out the growth mindset book as well. Do you know the author of that?
Ooh, I need to research it. I don't remember.
Because there's a couple. There's one that says Joshua Moore and Helen Glasgow, and there's another one
Oh, it's
by Dr. Carol S.
Dr.
Dweck.
Carol, Dr. Carol Estweck. Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm going to buy this now. Nice.
this is the one. Yeah, that's really good.
This is the main reason I do the podcast, to get these good book recommendations.
No, I can share with you much more. Like this is my top 3, but there are some very, very, very good and open eye books that you can go.
No.
There's one that is also very nice. It's called Understanding Michael Partner. It's from Strategy. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Like things that sometimes you as a company, you want very hard to fight for an international market, but it's just that your product doesn't work there. So you are wasting resources, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your finance. Focus. Go to the local country, for example. Go to the local market. Improve your product capabilities there. So it's really also really good.
Nice. I will check those out as well. And then just in terms of more talking about sort of your personal tastes and things, and I've never been to Hamburg. I definitely plan to go. What is your favorite thing to eat? Where do you like to eat in Hamburg?
Oh, there's a lot of things, but I would say the fish sandwich and the harbor. It's pretty
Nice.
nice.
And what about your favorite thing to drink? Do you drink alcohol? Do you not drink alcohol? What's your sort of favorite thing to drink in Hamburg?
I used to, I stopped. So now I think it's 7 months that I'm alcohol free.
Nice.
It's like it's a tough decision, but best decision. Like it's the way you feel much more fresh. It's amazing. Uh, my favorite drink, I would say before, absolutely beer. But now these days, I really, really, really like a Turkish coffee. Like it's amazing. It's super delicious. So every time I have the opportunity to stop by a bakery and get a decent Turkish coffee, it's just amazing.
Is it like really strong, or what's the
It's
difference?
strong. It's
Yeah.
strong, and you have the it's not filtered. It's the way of
Okay.
doing is different. It's very good. I recommend it.
Nice. And then, what's your sort of favorite country to visit, apart from Brazil, and why?
I would say Turkey was a very good experience. Like it's a very, especially like on the coast, it's extremely beautiful.
Mm.
Croatia, it's amazing. Like it's the nature and then how beautiful it is. It's just like it's amazing. There's Greece, so every country with a beach like that you can. Italy, I mean, it's. I love to see the beauty of the nature. But if
Yeah.
I had to choose one, I would say Turkey.
Where have you been in Turkey? Have you been, is it like Istanbul or?
Went to Istanbul, Bodrum, Alaşehir, and yeah, Izmir. So I got for the three common places to go.
Nice. Yeah, I've never been at all, but I was definitely thinking about it. I would love to go to Istanbul, especially given the history as well, right?
Yeah.
Um, be really amazing. And then my final question is: just any feedback on this podcast? I'm always willing to learn and adapt, so it'd be great to hear some feedback.
No, it's amazing. I mean, really, I love the opportunity to talk. I think it's great questions, great preparation, and interesting topics, and I think people will enjoy. So really, really nice. Really well done.
No, it's amazing. It's been really, really engaging talking to you, and really nice having you and understanding some of these concepts and some of the values that are like really close to your heart. So yeah, I really appreciate your time today, Felipe.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for joining us on the seventh episode of Source Talks, the Tech Lab. I'd like to thank Felipe for joining me. It's been really intriguing hearing about his journey. I hope you enjoyed listening. You can listen on all major streaming platforms, Spotify for audio, YouTube for video. We'll include some links in the comments as well. You can follow us on LinkedIn at Source Technology. And also find us at www.source-technology.com. If you're interested in joining our community or just want to be involved in general, please get in touch. I can't wait to share more conversations like this with you and take the knowledge to the next level as always. Appreciate it. Goodbye.